Good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to Living in Coherence, the practice of inner unity. This is our sixth session here, and I thank you for being here, and I thank you for watching the recording. And I just so appreciate it as we talk about embracing and embodying coherence in our daily life. Not the easiest thing to do. So, what I've been talking about here is sharing ideas, and what we've been doing is discussing all different kinds of ways to integrate it into our lives. For those who don't know me, my name is Dorothy Wesley, and I'm an attorney, an author coach, a death diva, and a wisdom sharer. And I've been a resource for evolutionary consciousness and evolutionary tools for quite a while. I have been on the evolutionary, spiritual, metaphysical path for many, many decades. I started reading tarot cards and doing palmistry when I was 15 years old, and came along with the evolutionary role as we've been rolling right along. So I have quite a broad perspective on life and how to live it and the practices that we can integrate into our life to support us on our journey, especially through these changing times. So, the first thing I like to do is for us to attune together, for us to come together and be here present. Even if you're watching the recording, this is a good thing for us as you come into the sound of my voice and what we're doing here. So let's bring our hearts together, right? Close your eyes and let's take 3 deep breaths together, okay? 3 deep breaths. So one deep breath in and let it out through your nose or your mouth and settle down. And another deep breath in through your heart and let it out through your nose or your mouth. And one last deep breath into your heart, bringing in love and compassion with the sound of my voice, being here with me now for this short period of time, and letting it out through your nose or your mouth, being present here together. Thank you. If you've ever been on any of the Living in Coherence uh, um, talking here at on the Coherence Cafe, then you know that one thing I love to do is always remind us that the most powerful thing that we have as a human being is to raise our own consciousness. And I like to remind us every time, because so many folks say, why do we even do this inner work? What difference does it make? I see out there every day people that could care less about this. And yet it really sustains me. And it's the way that I live my life. So our consciousness, when raised, provides us with opportunities to make so much better decisions about who to love, who to trust, what's meaningful in our lives. And then, of course, when we come to the realization that when we raise our own consciousness, we raise the consciousness of the collective field within which we all exist. What we feed the field matters. So our love, our compassion, our kindness, our thought processes feed the field, and they're needed in the world right now to raise the vibration, all the things that we're working on to birth the new reality. And so, as I contemplated our conversation here today, as part of our practice of integrating coherence into our daily lives, I was wondering what Spirit's going to give me to talk to you about, what we're going to talk about, right? And so a couple of weeks ago, we talked about the cow story and how things hold us back from moving forward and bringing more coherence into our lives. And then we talked about intuition and how important intuition is as we live our lives. And then last time I talked about what I talked about last time. We shared about the need for us to fully embrace and incorporate forgiveness in our daily existence. And all of this supports our embracing and moving into more coherent state. So as I open for today's particular conversation, a particular topic, what Spirit gave me to talk about is something called the practice of neutrality. Now, it's one of my favorite practices, and yet it seems to me that it really supports our ability to use coherence in our daily lives and bring us into more coherence. And I didn't know why. Practicing coherence is from the high heart. And it's something, it's part of our fifth dimension, part of us moving into the new reality, the practice of neutrality. And I've been talking about the practice of neutrality for quite a few years, but I realized I hadn't really done too much to articulate exactly what I mean. And a lot of people are like, what is neutrality? Or they think of neutrality as something that just really, it's confusing, it's dumb, it's already covered in a whole lot of other things. But I think not. I think it's really an evolutionary tool, and it's really something important for us incorporating more coherence into our lives, and how and why. Now, what is neutrality? Now, as a lawyer, it's in my bones to define my terms. So I always want to say, this is what it means, right? So let me tell you, let me go into two different directions too, because Merriam-Webster's dictionary defines neutrality as the quality or state of being neutral. Thank you very much. That's good. So, okay, then what does the state of being neutral mean? Well, the word neutral has two definitions. It's a noun and an adjective. Remember our English grammar? Do you remember it? So we have a noun, and as an adjective, neutral is defined as not engaged on either side. This is normally what people think about when they think about neutral or neutrality. And that's the common feeling, right? And it's certainly within the duality paradigm in which we've been living for thousands of years. Neutral is not choosing sides, right? Then the definition of neutrality is based upon the fact that there are others, right? There are sides. And so what we know and what we call in duality consciousness, that being neutral is regularly understood that way, that it is in essence not engaging with either side. So we're being neutral. But that's not the kind of neutrality I'm talking about. As an evolutionary tool, so the neutrality I speak about is the embodiment of unity consciousness, neutrality. Unity consciousness. With that perspective, I would define neutrality as an extension of non-judgment, discernment, observation, love, compassion, and most of all, acceptance. Now, why do I say acceptance? Because why do I say exception? Mostly because all of those are wonderful practices and things that we need to do and incorporate into our daily lives. But they tend to be with specific situations. The kind of observation and discernment, they tend to be with specifics. When I talk about neutrality as a practice, it's an across the board embodiment of allowing whatever it is to be what it is and do what it does. That's just the acceptance of it. So it's a high level of acceptance, but it's a general across the board. And as we become the forerunners, the path pavers, the outliers of conscious embodiment, living in coherence, shifting from the old reality of dispowerment and into the new reality of empowerment and love and steady state. Integrating the practice of neutrality become an important part of our embodiment and grounding it. Now, you think it might be interesting to think about neutrality in a broader concept too. It's a useful state of awareness to cultivate. It's a practice, especially to handle any kind of emotional activation, and we have those all the time. As we know, our emotions generate charges within our body. When somebody does something to us, no matter what triggers it, even if it's triggered by our very own monkey mind, our body reacts to it. Sometimes it's circumstances in the outer world. Sometimes it's somebody, but we have an emotional charge. We are charged emotionally. And the important part of neutrality as a practice is that it's an aspect of self-awareness where when we are feeling ourselves emotionally charged by something that somebody has done to us or a monkey mind, whatever it is, whatever is coming up, we are then and there paying attention. Then neutrality then comes into play because that's when we do it. That's when our practice comes into play. So what that means is whatever emotional activation is going on, we find our neutrality. We find that higher place, that realization that everything just is what it is. A lot of times I'll just let it be, right? So how do we find our neutrality? Well, first we acknowledge that there's an emotional stimulation. Something has got us going here. Then we acknowledge the emotion. Is it fear? Is it anger? Is it irritation? Is it frustration? What is it? Hurt? Excitement? It can be a lot of different things. Guilt, doubt. See, we have a broad range of emotional activations that it could be. So then we accept what it is. Okay, this is what it is. This is what I'm feeling right now. Nothing more, nothing less. You don't need to put any kind of stories to it or any kind of anything on it. So then this is the practice of neutrality. Boom. It brings it down. This just is what it is. We don't judge our experience. We don't judge our emotion or our awareness of it. It's just normal or abnormal. We don't say it's good or bad or anything like that. It just is what it is, doing what it does. And that's a level of understanding where we can bring our coherence, our mind, and our heart in balance because we're in a state of neutrality. Being neutral doesn't mean we have to stop being involved or being moving forward. We may not have any choice but to be very much involved in what's going on. But when we've diffused that emotional activation, we're much more in a calmer, coherent state to handle whatever's going on. So if we're in the middle of like if you're in the middle of a raging river and say we're definitely moving, and as with any situation, there are practical things to do, all the while accepting the way it is. I'm in this raging river, but we got to keep our head above water. We got to make sure that we can reach out, catch our next breath, that we're looking for a way to get out, staying aware and alert, even in a raging river, even with an emotional activation, being aware and alert about what's going on and how to handle yourself. When you're in neutrality, it provides you that place. When we become proficient in the practice of neutrality, we can immediately feel the changes in our body. And I promise it really works. It takes time to practice neutrality. It's a heart practice, just like forgiveness. It's a heart practice. Our mind understands that we're emotionally activated, but our heart knows what to do, and that's to be neutral. That's to understand. It just is what it is, doing what it does. Maybe somebody's doing it to you. Maybe somebody's stimulating something. So when we get into neutrality, we're at a still point, and we're connected to the entire field. We know that what we feed the field matters, and therefore being proficient in neutrality feeds the field that level of calmness and love and compassion, no matter what's going on. The calmness and peace within supports our journey. And it supports our journey into the new reality. It supports our journey into stepping onto our new timelines. It supports our journey into living in coherence and inner unity. And then feeding the field with that love and that coherence and that enjoyment of life. So that's neutrality. I just wanted to share the practice of neutrality today. I hope you, if you ever want to ask me any questions about it, feel free to email me at doherty@dohertywesley.com. Sign up for my Wisdom for the New Reality newsletter. I talk about all different kinds of things, including neutrality. So I'd like to close with the fact that I feel that this is not the easiest practice in the world, and it takes time to what? Practice, practice, practice. Practice. Getting into neutrality supports our ability to step into our coherent state. And that's exactly what we want to do. That's exactly the key to the upshift of this planet, from what Roland McGrady said. Another thing I'd like to remind us each time we're here is that coherence is a really important tool. It has come to be the term that embraces fields as diverse as quantum physics, cosmology, and I think the physiology, as well as subtle energy, brain, heart, consciousness research. I think it's pretty important to get this word out there and share it with others, how important coherence is. And I have on my YouTube channel, just go to YouTube and search for Doherty Wesley. Please subscribe. I'd love to see you there. And we have a lot of videos up, a lot of short videos. And I think I have a short video on neutrality, as a matter of fact. And so please join me there, or join my Wisdom for the New Reality newsletter. As Roland McCready said of HeartMath, coherence is the key to the upshift of this, exploring our hearts more. I'm sure the upshift that's going on here on this planet is so important. So thank you for watching this recording. If you did, thank you for being here. If you are, I appreciate you being here. We will begin again next week, same time, same station, Living in Coherence at 11 o'clock next Tuesday. Thank you so much for being here. I love you. Aho.